Good morning. Welcome to the fifth episode of Ask Giri the Physio Show. Today we're going to have a panel discussion regarding pelvic organ prolapse in new moms. I have with me here Pranjali Kermode, physiotherapist and certified pelvic floor therapist, works in in-step physical therapy and seeing a lot of pelvic floor patients. We're going to discuss about pelvic organ prolapse in new moms and why this topic. Why we chose this topic for this morning. Actually, it's pretty chilly here. That's why you have to wear the jacket and nice iconic bridge in the behind. And we are talking about pelvic organ prolapse and why this topic. Because we see quite a bit of new moms coming in with organ prolapse, or even if not prolapse, a lot of yellow flags like urinary incontinence. A lot of people think that peeing in the pants is normal after having a childbirth. It's absolutely not, and we have to take care of that when there is a warning sign. And also some new moms have perineal tears and episiotomy not properly treated, and also no postnatal exercises, and some difficult pregnancy can lead to the pelvic organ prolapse. We want to address that issue and then see what a new mom can do to prevent and how they can handle it when they have a prolapse, or how to prevent it. That's the whole agenda of the topic today. I hope you guys like it. Let's begin. Hi Pranjali, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in. And why do you think this topic, pelvic organ prolapse, is important to discuss?
Thanks for inviting me to your show. It's all your show, and it's Ask the Giri. So I'm not asking right now because in our practice we have seen lot of cases who ask us that this difficult question, that pelvic organ prolapse is normal. But what I feel is pelvic floor itself is a delicate area, but at the same time it's very much ignored area. So I thought I will discuss with Giri. And the function of the pelvic floor is to support the abdominal content. It has a sump pump, like the vascular component to it, because it's in the junction between the upper body and the lower body. The function itself is a sexual function, urinary function, and stool evacuation purpose. But in my practice, what I have found is there are a lot of myths or misconception happening in the pregnancy, post-pregnancy ages. Okay. And what's happening is people are conceiving. They are not prepared for the delivery. They are not prepared for the pregnancy. It's an event. It's 9 months event, and most of the females have to prepare themselves for it. So they're ignoring during the pregnancy, and then during the delivery they are not aware about active participation into the delivery. So what's happening, it's like a passive process, and a lot of malhandling is happening. Maybe early decision of the cesarean section is happening, and because of all those different events, the female faces the prolapse as an event postpartum or post-delivery. So there are a lot of myths that pelvic prolapse is normal after the delivery. Only women has pelvic floor dysfunction. That's what I have heard a lot of times. Pessary and surgery is the only option after the pelvic organ prolapse after the delivery. Then vaginal pain during the intercourse, and it's very, very, very normal. That's what post-pregnancy female will think. The family also suffers, and the sexual pleasure goes away after the normal delivery. That's what is considered in this era. So I believe that we should put some more focus into understanding why the whole structure is giving you trouble and red flags. So would you like to put some focus on anatomy aspect of the pelvic floor?
Sure. The anatomy of the pelvic floor, to understand a little bit of anatomy, very brief anatomy, is important for you to understand the prolapse. So I'm just going to show the small light on that one. If you see the slide there, you can see how a hammock pelvic floor there, which is your pubococcygeus muscle, supporting three important organs on the top. Starting from the front, you have your bladder, then you have your uterus, and then behind your uterus, you have your rectum. So all these openings are in the pelvic floor muscle, which is your pubococcygeus muscle. What you see there is just three organs sitting on the top. In the next slide, you will see it is not just hanging in there, it's supported very well by fascia and ligaments. You got a very tight facial system and the ligamental system to suspend these organs all the way to the bony prominence of the pubic area, and also a lot of myofascial junctions. If you see for the vagina, there are three levels of support from the top to bottom. On the top, you have your ureterosacral ligaments attaching the top of the uterus to the back of the sacrum, which is your tailbone, right? So if we see here, this is your pelvis right here. The uterus is right here. So from the tailbone to the uterus, you have a ligament there. Then if you see, uterus is hanging in the middle, you have ligaments connecting the uterus to the sides of the walls of the pelvis as well. That's called cardinal ligaments. And there is so much facial system. Your level 1 on the top, it's always supported by the uterosacral ligaments and the cardinal ligaments. And the level 2 is supported totally by the fascia. You have pelvic fascia, you have rectovaginal fascia, and also the levator ani muscles supporting the second level. The third level supported by your perineal membranes and also the perineal body and your urethral diaphragms. So much complicated and integral part of the support given by the fascia and the ligaments and the muscles around the pelvic area to support the organs and also to maintain the integrity of the pelvic floor muscle. So I've talked about the brief anatomy and how the structures are supported. Now I'm going to ask Pranjali to explain a little bit about how the pelvic floor functions and what is the importance. Go ahead, Pranjali.
So in human evolution, I would like to go back to history. So when we became Homo erectus, so basically our function is to walk. We are most of the time standing and walking in our day-to-day life. So the function of the pelvic floor, we have to talk more in sense of erect mechanism. So we have when we are standing, there are different cavities. We can divide our whole body into different cavities, like right from the cranial cavity, which is very essential because brain is the boss.
Yes.
And it handles a lot of pelvic organs and pelvic floor. It's in the bottom. So there is a lot of connection happening from top to bottom. In between, we have a thoracic cavity and then abdominal cavity. So the whole cavity, if you consider the diaphragm, the breathing muscle, it's the only organ which is separating these two cavities. And the pressure gradient, whatever the pressure changes in lungs and in your tummy, like the organs, that would change the function of the pelvic floor, and that will stress or de-stress the pelvic floor. So if I go ahead and show you the slide where there is a balloon pump mechanism. So whenever there is a pressure gradient, whenever there is an increase in the intra-abdominal pressure, that means when you're carrying a baby, it's an extra weight you're carrying in your sac. So the uterus is carrying it. No doubt about it. The uterus is very strong. And as Giri explained, there are a lot of ligaments and the fascia is supporting it. But what if it goes weak and the extra pressure starts? It's like a creep happening for entire 9 months. And at the time of delivery, there is so much pressure built up and the expulsion happens. That time, the ligaments can tear, they can get injured, and they can get weakened. Yeah. So the physiological stresses are there. So the baby's weight is slowly increasing, and magically pregnant female has a capacity to expand their muscles and to accommodate the extra weight. But what if the pregnant lady is not prepared for it because of many other issues, which we will talk in next some slides. But would you like to explain some types of the pelvic organ prolapse?
Sure. So there are different types of pelvic organ prolapse. As we discussed in the anatomy, the different organs you saw. So if the bladder in the front is prolapsed, we call it cystocele. sometimes urethra can also prolapse. It's called urethrocoele. If the bladder and urethra both prolapses, we call cystourethrocoele. And then that happens in the front of the vaginal wall. And on top of the vagina, we have a uterus, right? So the uterus can prolapse. That's called uterus prolapse. And in the back of the vaginal wall, we have rectum. So when that prolapse, we can also rectal prolapse. And also sometimes there is a gap between the side. There's a small pouch between the top of the vagina and the rectum. Sometimes the small intestine can prolapse through that. It's called I'm missing the term, enterocoele. Yeah, so these are the things. So cystocoele, urethrocoele, enterocoele and rectocoele. These are the different types of prolapse can happen in the things. By palpatory techniques, you can identify is the vaginal wall in the front there is some prolapse, or in the back something is prolapse, or on the top. That's all can be finding in the palpatory assessment during your pelvic floor physiotherapy examination. Okay, Pranjali. So we also should discuss, I think when we discuss this, about the risk factors.
Oh, yeah. So
what are the risk factors? Why a new mom, a pregnant lady, what are the risk factors for them to develop a prolapse? I think our audience will be interested to know that. Top of my mind, I'm thinking of constipation is one of the main thing.
yes.
Right? Chronic constipation is very important. And also multiple pregnancies without any gap in between. That can weaken the pelvic floor system and doesn't give much time for the involution of the tissues to go back before they kind of having the next pregnancy. We call as multiparous, right? And any kind of abdominal tumors or conditions when we put more pressure on the pelvic floor, like ovarian cyst or fibroids, or any injury to the pelvic floor muscles due to sports trauma or any other trauma. That can also cause as a risk factor. And we have very lot of active females in the community. So I know a lot of young women involved in CrossFit and other gym activities.
Yeah.
So if you have a lot of weightlifting activities and high impact exercises, that can also be a risk factor for the pelvic organ prolapse. That's what I'm thinking on top of my mind. Can you think of anything else in your mind?
Chronic smokers can have cough as a, and then when you're coughing constantly, your abdominal muscles are creating a lot of pressure from inside.
Sure, yeah.
Intra-abdominal pressure.
Yeah.
And your overall your muscles are very weak when you're ill.
Yeah.
You know. So and if you're not you have not trained your muscles very well, and
Definitely.
you're constantly ignoring those muscles, that would definitely impact the pregnant lady or post-pregnancy.
Definitely.
There are different causes of prolapse.
Okay, so we are moving from the risk factors to the causes of the prolapse. Some of the risk factors also can be a cause, right?
Yeah, definitely. So during the childbirth is a beautiful event, but it's very traumatizing if there is no active participation. So physical or a mental stress, like if the lady is not prepared.
I just wanted to add to that point you talked about the childbirth. So when we talk about childbirth, we have to think about the stages of labor.
Yeah.
Right? I just want to throw some light on that. We have about 3 to 4 stages of labor. In the first stage of labor, the cervical dilatation should be up to 10 centimeters there. So what happens when you strain too much before the cervical dilatation happens, and there can be chances of the pelvic floor organ prolapse will be there. And also sometimes the forceps application before the full dilatation of the cervix, that also can be causing some damage to the area. And the stage 2 labor, when the baby is passing through the vagina, that time if they strain too much, that can overstretch the levator muscles, and sometimes tear also can happen in that area, in the vaginal wall. That can damage the mechanism as well. These are the things can happen during the childbirth, as Pranjali was discussing. And also perineal tear during the childbirth, that can, and also untreated perineal tear or not done properly for the episiotomy, things like that can also cause damage to the area. Go ahead.
So in my knowledge, the education to the pregnant female is very much essential. What Giri just talked about, antenatal classes really helps to educate the different stages of the labor and to prepare a lady for the event of the delivery itself. So from the labor to the delivery, if the lady is aware about what's coming up to her, she is well prepared mentally and even physically. Like physiologically, she can modify herself, change of positions, and active participation of relaxation of the pelvic floor muscles, which is in her control, which is in her brain control. But what happens because of lot of stresses, the things can go haywire. So as we explained, there is this hammock mechanism of the pelvic floor.
Yes.
So anytime the ligament can break, anytime the support system can fail, and the lady can suffer pelvic organ prolapse. And this, what I have observed, Giri, in this, the ignorance is not a bliss in this. So pelvic organ prolapse is not always found on the table. So you have to go to a professional to actually get diagnosed. So many of times, if it is like a grade 1 or grade 2, less than grade 2 prolapse, just because this lady is much busy in her childcare, she might just ignore her own health.
Definitely.
And
We see a lot of cases like that.
that's
isn't it?
what.
Yeah.
In our practice, what we have found that at the age of like maybe 50s and 60s, women come, and what we have observed the pelvic organ dysfunction, and we have observed that 20 years back they have delivered multiple babies, or eventful.
Or had a tear, not treated.
Correct.
Never did a pelvic floor rehab.
Yes.
Yeah.
That kind of condition can be haunting in the later ages, and because of the lack of estrogen after the menopause and multiple other factors.
And
like
then collagen deficiency in the fascia also.
True.
Yeah, because of the collagen gets weaker in the facial system, then the estrogen deficiency, they all add to the trauma for the post-menopausal prolapse, right?
Yeah.
That's why when you're delivering now, when you have a trauma, treat it now, otherwise you're going to pay later down the road in 20, 30 years. And we do see women coming in like that.
Yeah.
So the whole point of this episode, to educate the new moms, take care of it now so that you don't cry later or regret later.
Yeah. And there are multiple other problems associated with the prolapse. So it's just not a descending of the organ. What happens, it starts pulling onto the rest of the neighboring organs. So I've always talked about this problem, and I educate my patients like noisy neighborhoods. So what happens is, like, there is a sound sleepers in your house, but because of the neighbor, they're partying all night. Your house will be disturbed.
Yeah,
So
for
what
sure.
happens is, like, incontinence. What I've observed in my practice when I'm like assessing my patients post delivery, and what I've found is, like, when I'm assessing them, the incontinence is the primary issue they come up with. Like they either have like peeing in the pant when they're hopping, skipping, jumping, or during the child care when
Yeah.
they're lifting their babies, they find that the some amount of pee is dribbling.
And also, it's a myth, isn't it? Like that, some of them would come, peeing in the pants is normal after childbirth. It's a
Yeah.
big myth. It's not normal. There is something not working properly in your pelvic floor. Some mechanism is not right. So never ever think that incontinence is normal after childbirth. That one take-home message we want to really insist in this episode.
Yeah. And involution period, like within 6 weeks,
Yep.
there is a natural recovery of the pregnant female because of the oxytocin.
Yeah.
Because of the
The hormonal changes,
breastfeeding.
yeah.
There is when the breastfeeding causes a lot of good things, good changes in the body. That is the involution period, that the retraction of the uterus, and even the sexual dyspleasure. What I found is much more complained after the delivery, recurrent bladder infection, and yeast infection post delivery.
Yeah.
So there are different grades of prolapse. Would you like to talk about it?
Yeah, as you see in the slide right there, you see what's a normal portion of the anatomy where the uterus is supposed to sit and where the vaginal wall is. And the first degree, the cervix is descended down into the vagina a little bit, and the second degree, it's almost the uterus is at the level of introitus, we call it, the vaginal opening. And the third degree is uterus is already out of the vaginal opening, and just that's really, sometimes we see that cases also. And if it's totally out, we call it procedentia. It's not very common, but usually the first 3 degrees are very common in females. Those are the small glimpse of the grades of prolapse of the uterus. Yeah, we have to stand up. It's a little chilly here in Edmonton. It's only like 6 or 8 degrees. So I thought I want to keep moving. I don't want to sit down anymore. It's kind of chilly. So Pranjali, as pelvic floor physiotherapist, we both are certified. And what do you think we can do as a physiotherapist? It's to the pelvic floor and also the women with pelvic floor prolapse or a new mom. what we can do. Can you explain?
Thanks for asking, Giri. But in your practice, you're helping a lot of females by educating. This episode itself is an education, and you're helping partially.
Yeah.
So, as a pelvic floor physiotherapist on table, what we do is examination. You know, as I said that many of female doesn't know that what is the stage at which they should approach a pelvic floor physiotherapist. So, not always the referral is important. They can just have a routine examination
Yeah.
by the pelvic floor physiotherapist to find out everything is normal, everything is going as the naturally it should be. After 6 weeks, they can exactly come to the clinic and just get examined to find out the anatomically and physiologically the
Everything
lady
is going well, right?
recovering. So role of physiotherapist is taking a detailed history. We always go back 10 years back or adolescent age also, that what was troubling that lady
Yeah.
in the beginning, whether she had any weakness already predisposing weakness, or she had any tears and traumas and all those things. So detailed history is very important. Then understanding different factors, like whether how active she is she in a sedentary job, a desk job, which will like cause a lot of low back pain in the beginning. Before the pregnancy or after, during the pregnancy, a female has some kind of infection or traumas or any kind of longer sitting job, which you know, or active lifestyle where she's like hopping, skipping, jumping. So we take that different factors into consideration to treat that female. Then we go through in external examination, that is how the lady's posture is. Posture is so much important,
Of
Giri.
course, for everything, right?
Yeah, so Giri is going to talk more about it, but posture and breathing pattern and how lady moves and what her thinking process is, how motivated she is, we find out. And internal examination, we actually find out what is the exact structure which is bothering her, what is exactly dropping down, or what is exactly is tight or weak or everything like that. Accurate diagnosis is very important, that which structure is falling. Your anterior wall, that is your bladder is falling, or your rectum is falling. Many of times, Giri, I have found that the rectal prolapse is very much ignored. They don't even know that they had a chronic constipation, and they thought like during the pregnancy or post delivery also constipation is just normal, but it's not. And when we find there is a organ prolapse,
Yeah.
so and the comprehensive
That you can easily identify by the examining the
Examination.
posterior wall of the vagina, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, the comprehensive treatment plan. So how much she has to pay attention to her health is educated, and the whole the child birth is a beautiful event, and even the recovery has to be smooth enough. So we guide females in that treatment plan, that how she can take care of herself with helping her child as well.
Yes.
So
And in the
prevention-
same thing, and all the prevention. Prevention is better than cure. So for a new mom, what you can do to prevent the pelvic organ prolapse? First of all, you need to consult your pelvic floor physiotherapist to involve in appropriate prenatal pelvic floor exercises, right? Everybody's body is different, everybody's pregnancy is different, everybody's history is different, and the biopsychosocial factors are different, and emotional factors are different. So consult a pelvic floor physiotherapist to get your individualized prenatal exercises. Don't go to Dr. Google or Dr. YouTube. That is not individualized, right? So consult a physiotherapist for that same thing. And also avoiding high impact exercises and heavy weightlifting exercises. That's important. If you have issue with chronic cough or constipation, you need to get addressed with your physician so that you're not putting any undue pressure to the pelvic floor muscles. And also, if you're planning for babies, try to have a little bit of a gap in between your babies so that your body kind of goes through the involution phase to bring back to the normal before it goes for another pregnancy. Back-to-back pregnancy, it's kind of hard on the system sometimes, unless if you're doing the right things. These are some tips you can do for prevention, right? Then Pranjali talked about posture.
Yeah.
So you want to show some light on it?
Yeah, so posture is important, as I said that the level of activity level of the female
Yeah.
has to be understood. How active she was, you know, if she's athlete already. So then we know that her other body muscles are strong enough and they're flexible enough what about the pelvic floor muscles? In athletes, what we have found, there are a lot of weakness happening in the pelvic floor muscles,
Okay.
but the rest of the muscles are very
Stronger.
much sound. So athletes can ignore their pelvic floor muscles, and we have to like check that how they're standing. Are they like slouching, or they are tight in some of the muscles? The hip muscles can be tight. So the posture is very important, that how the placement of the organ is.
And also, like pelvic floor is basically a floor, right? Your ceiling is your diaphragm,
Yeah.
your front wall is your abdominal muscles, and the back wall is your back muscles. Imagine a pop can, right? The top of the pop can is your diaphragm, the bottom of the pop can is your pelvic floor, and the front of the pop can is your abdominal muscles, the back of the pop can is your back muscles. So this cylinder mechanism has to be intact for you to have a nice pregnancy and delivery. If this cylindrical mechanism is affected physiologically or anatomically, you're going to have a problem. That is where pelvic floor physiotherapists come in.
Yeah. Can you hold the pelvis so that I can show that
Yeah.
when your pelvis is tilted forward, like excessive pelvic tilt, then there is lot of dysfunction is happening in your back, and it can actually stress your pelvic organs as well. When you tilt it backward and there is lot of pressure when you're sitting down, a lot of pressure is coming this
From
on
the back of
sciatic
the
nerve.
things, yeah.
Yeah, and the nerve exiting from there. So obviously the accurate angle has to be maintained, and that only physiotherapist can biomechanically assess you and find
then
out.
correct it. A lot of people has this too much of anti-tilt or the posterior tilt as a postural dysfunction. It's easily correctable, and some ergonomic advice and postural advice can easily help you with that. And also you have to adapt a good posture during the breastfeeding as
Yes.
well. You shouldn't be slouching too much. You should bring the baby to the breast, not the breast to the baby, and use pillows, U-pillows, whatever you can to bring it up really good. And you can see in the slide the different holds you can use for the breastfeeding as well. What are we talking next?
So breathing mechanism.
Yes, that's very important. She's going to discuss a very little bit about breathing, so that why breathing is very important. Because remember, don't forget, the ceiling is the diaphragm, and the cavity pressure is all happening because of your breathing. And can you show more touch on that?
Yeah, actually what happens is, like when you're shallow breathing, a lot of damages can happen. There is less of oxygen to the body, and recovery of the muscle. During the recovery phase, we need a lot of oxygen to the muscles to have a better metabolism.
Yeah.
So oxygen we have to provide by deep breathing. So
Yes.
deep breathing is not just important, but the coordination of the breathing, like inhalation and exhalation coordination is important. While exhalation, there is a good vacuum pump mechanism is created intra-abdominally, so that the pelvic floor can be contracted very well or
Yep.
pulled very well. So during the exhalation, like even the weightlifters,
Yes.
they do the same thing. When they are exhaling out, they are contracting the muscles
Definitely.
or lifting. So that is a safe way of doing it by avoiding Valsalva maneuver.
Okay.
So I think the breathing is so much important. There are postnatal classes. Giri, would you like to put some light on it?
Yeah, like, after the baby is delivered, usually if the normal delivery, they're discharged right away. If they're cesarean, they'll be in the hospital 1 or 2 days. If there is any complication, the new mom staying a little bit longer. Once the baby is out, you're going home. And if the mom has a tear, or if you have any complications during pregnancy, that has to be taken care of postnatally. Even for a normal delivery, postnatal exercises are very important. And whether you have a problem or not a problem, having a postnatal program for you to get you that organs back in shape and the muscles back in shape, it's primary important. And postnatal exercises can be done by the mother alone or with the baby also. You can see a slide, the mom is doing exercises with the baby. There's a lot of options out there where you can join different programs or consult your pelvic floor physiotherapist to get your individualized postnatal exercises. Again, as I mentioned, every woman is different, every pregnancy is different, every mode of delivery is different, everybody's psychosocial, emotional components are different.
Yeah, the child care can go hand in hand with taking care of your own body. That's what the message is. The postnatal exercises are important, and we have postnatal exercise physiotherapist. So we can give the right guidance at what stage or what month
Yeah.
the right exercise is for you.
Yeah.
There are a lot of benefits of exercise overall in
Yes.
the postnatal phase, like post-delivery phase. especially the Kegels exercise. It's commonly used.
Everybody
terms.
knows Kegels, right? But everybody thinks Kegel is the only thing. No, Kegel is just the one exercise out of the whole pelvic floor exercises we teach. That's not all of it.
Correct.
And there are importance. Can you tell some importance or
Yeah.
benefits of the exercises?
So not only the strength of the pelvic floor comes back by the Kegel or the different set of exercises, there are different positions to do Kegels, there are different timings to do Kegels, and there are endurance building, like how long to hold and how long to release and how many times to do. So not only strength, but it improves the sexual function, it improves the sexual pleasure, it improves it decreases the physical stresses, it improves the endurance, the amount of attention and energy you will spend for your childbirth would definitely improve with the rest of the exercises. Your motivation boosts up and your recovery period is shortened, and the female can go back to her regular functions
Definitely.
as quicker as possible after doing those exercises.
Yeah, that's very important. And also, we do a lot of manual therapy also in pelvic floor physiotherapy. It includes mobilization of your pelvis, your sacrum, your hips, working on the myofascial tissues in and around the pelvis, externally and internally. And also we use a lot of soft tissue manipulations and biofeedback. We have biofeedback equipments where we have to insert something inside and then ask the patient to contract to perfectly locate which muscles they want to target. And there is electrical stimulation devices, internal stimulation devices, external stimulation devices to stimulate the muscles inside and outside. That's very important. So, and also a lot of other devices we use, like vaginal cones to strengthen the internal pelvic floor or vaginal walls. And we also have the TheraWands, and we use a lot of equipments, and also patients can buy a lot of these things to use it for the home program also. And like Pelvitone and things like that, they come in, they learn, and they can use it at home to strengthen their pelvic floor muscles as well.
Yeah, sure. So, but the right guidance is required.
Definitely.
The prescription from the physiotherapist is required, how to use it. And we have a follow-up. There are so many patients comes from the other provinces to get examined, and we actually guide them that what can be done like each month, and then how can they follow up.
Definitely.
And follow-up is very much essential each month, Giri.
We also have a lot of out-of-town patients coming in. They come in for an appointment, they learn everything from us, they do things at home, they come in twice a month or once a month. And in-town patients, they come weekly. Depends on what you need, what's the treatment plan you need to recover properly so that you can avoid all the complications, including the prolapse. Okay. Anything else? Did we miss anything to discuss?
Actually, yes. We have missed that we do not treat pregnant or post-pregnancy females only physiologically. We treat them mentally, physically and spiritually, and considering everything. For example, like this slide shows that the concentration towards her work, her childcare, her day-to-day household, everything increases by doing the focusing into pelvic
awareness
health.
Too, right? Creating that awareness.
It's all about health.
Yeah.
So physically, if she's getting stronger, mentally also she becomes strong to take care of rest of the stuff.
Sure.
The relaxation is
Very
and
important.
the healing
Yeah.
of the post-pregnancy female is so much important, but because of the excuse she always gives that she has no time for herself, we have to delete that thought from mind. And as Giri is explaining that we are putting a lot of emphasis on this topic, because as quick as possible you have to attend to your health.
Okay.
All those pregnant.
Some great information there, Pranjali. Thanks for coming in. But we have actually a couple of questions from the audience. I'm going to ask Pranjali. The first question from Janet from Edmonton.
Okay.
She is 6 weeks post-delivery, normal delivery. She had a grade 2 tear in the perineal area, and she's asking what is the best time or when to start the pelvic floor physiotherapy.
Okay. So I would like to explain, Janet, that as soon as possible you have to, it will be a good advice that you can get yourself assessed by pelvic floor physiotherapist to understand grade 2 tear is more than 50%.
Yes.
So 50% tear requires a little bit of attention to heal it properly. So it's a soft tissue damage. Along with it, that tear the healing has to happen in the internal pelvic organs as well. So hand in hand, we have to evaluate that how the scar tissue formation is, or how, what if the scar tissues are healing properly.
Definitely.
And is that scar tissue is going to cause you any chronic problems,
Or
so
any
to avoid-
damage to the parental nerve happened, or any kind of neurological
Correct.
issues.
So
And also
as
we
early as
discussed too why that everything underneath there is supporting it. Facial tears or ligamentous tears, muscle tears can cause damage. We have to retrain them as well, isn't it?
Definitely. That's why we need to know that what exactly is bothering you. Are you healing very well? And what we can do, like how the muscle activation could be. So it need not be like strong Kegel exercises, but just activation of this pelvic floor exercises like isometrically.
Yeah.
You know, so we can train you for that. So that can be
Yeah,
helped.
definitely. Thank you, Pranjali, for that. Another question is from Debbie from Morinville. What she's asking is, do I need a referral to see a pelvic floor physiotherapist? We don't need a referral. The plain answer, you don't need a referral to a pelvic floor physiotherapist. We are first-hand healthcare practitioners. It is always nice to go see a physician. If you have any complications, they can address it, and then it can be referred, or you can also be referred by your gynecologist as well for pelvic floor physiotherapy. Most of the referrals coming to our clinic are self-referrals.
Yes.
New moms are going online and checking out what they're supposed to do, and they're finding out and educating themselves about pelvic floor physiotherapy, and then making their calls and coming to the clinic, and we are assessing them and treating them. That's very important, because whether you have a normal delivery or some complicated delivery, every woman should and must have pelvic floor physiotherapy after delivery. It's normal in Europe and Asia. We have to bring the trend in North America that the system is being followed, that every woman after delivery is being taken care of to prevent any kind of complications in the pelvic area. You know, when you have a rotator cuff tear, do you just go without any treatment? No, you don't. You take care of it because you rotator cuff tear. How a pelvic floor tear or perineal tear is different from rotator cuff tear? Yeah, both are musculoskeletal organs. Actually, your rotator cuff even does not support any big organs. There is no uterus or rectum supported here. It's only supporting the shoulder joint. But your pelvic floor is supporting the major organs and the major abdominal structures. It's such an important area. So never ever ignore a pelvic tear or perineal tear. Get it treated properly and rehab it nicely with the help of your pelvic floor physiotherapist. It's a team. Your physician, your gynecologist, your pelvic floor physiotherapist. We are all a team to help you, but you are in the middle of the team. You are the most important person in the team, and get help and get better soon. And anything else, Pranjali?
Thank you so much. It's very much chilly right now, and thanks for inviting, and it was a great topic to discuss
No
with
problem.
you.
I'm actually cheering here, but thank you so much for your time on this episode 5 of Ask Giri the Physio Show. Hope you got some valuable information about the pelvic organ prolapse and how to take care of the pelvic floor. And if you like this episode, please subscribe for the YouTube channel. We are on YouTube, Ask Giri the Physio Show. We are on Facebook page. We also created a new website, physioshow.ca. All our episodes are there. You can go check it out as well. And please share it with your friends and follow us. For more, we are doing like 2 episodes a month. Our next episode this month is going to be prevention of running injuries, and we will see you there. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.
Bye bye.